You ever go back to an old game just out of curiosity and end up thinking, wait, this actually feels better than a lot of new stuff? That's kind of what happened to me with a bunch of PS2 games recently. I wasn't really planning anything big, just wanted to replay a few titles I remembered liking. But as I spent more time with them, something started to stand out. These games, even without modern graphics or huge open worlds, still play really well. Like, there's a certain simplicity and confidence in how they're built. So, in this video, I just wanted to take a slow, relaxed look at a few PS2 games that, in their own quiet way, aged better than some of today's massive AAA releases. Nothing fancy, just a calm walkthrough of why these older games still hold up, and maybe even do a few things modern ones kind of forgot. If that sounds like your kind of thing, you're in the right place. Let's just hang out for a bit and talk through it. You might not have heard about this one, but Godhand is one of those strange little games that stays with you, not because of its graphics or story, but because it plays like nothing else. It's clunky in a way that feels deliberate, rough around the edges, but full of personality, like it knows exactly what it is and doesn't care if you get it right away. The world has this weird, over-the-top, energy half Western, half anime chaos, and yet, beneath all the absurd humor, there's this really tight, skill-based combat system that feels way deeper than it looks. You're not just button mashing, you're learning rhythms, dodging with precision, and building combos that are oddly satisfying once you find the flow. And what makes it special, honestly, is how unfiltered it is. The game doesn't hold your hand. It throws you in, lets you mess up, and then slowly teaches you how to get better. It's scrappy and unapologetically itself, and that makes exploring it feel more personal, like you're in on a secret that most people missed. If you like games that challenge you in weird, memorable ways, this one's definitely worth digging into. There's something quietly beautiful about this next one. It's not just the way it looks, but the way it feels to move through. Okami is a game that doesn't rush you. It invites you in slowly, like a peaceful walk through a storybook that somehow came to life. The world is full of soft colors and gentle sounds, and every little detail feels like it was placed there with care. You play as a wolf, but more than that, you're this presence that brings life back to places that have started to fade. What I love most is how creative it feels like. You're not just pressing buttons, you're painting the world back into shape with your own hand. There's something really calming about it all, like the game isn't trying to impress you, it just wants you to take your time, look around, and feel something real. The puzzles, the quiet little moments between the action, the way everything flows together. It's one of those rare games where even doing nothing for a while feels kind of magical. If you've ever wanted to step into a world that feels like a living painting, one that's full of soft wonder instead of noise, this might be something you'll want to sit with for a while. Here's something different I've been meaning to share. Dragon Quest VIII is one of those quiet treasures that just feels good to return to. There's a peaceful kind of rhythm in how it unfolds, like reading a familiar adventure story under a warm light. What really stands out is how the world opens up around you. Not all at once, but slowly, in a way that makes every new path feel earned. The towns have their own little personalities, the music feels gentle and timeless, and even the smallest side characters feel like they belong there. It's the kind of game where you don't mind stopping to look around, talk to a few villagers, maybe just wander without a clear goal. And the turn-based battles, simple, steady, and easy to settle into, don't demand quick reflexes, just a bit of thought and a calm approach. I think what makes this one special is how much heart it has. It never tries to be edgy or loud, it just trusts that if you sit with it for a while, you'll start to feel the care that went into every little piece. And if you've ever wanted to get lost in a world that feels warm, full of charm, and quietly inviting, this one's really worth spending time with. There's this other classic I've been thinking about lately, Resident Evil 4, and even after all these years, there's still something strangely gripping about it. Not just because of the action or the tense moments, but because of the way it carries this slow, steady sense of dread without ever rushing you. You're dropped into this quiet, unsettling village, and right away, the atmosphere pulls you in. The fog, the silence between footsteps, the way every building feels just a little too still, it all builds this feeling that something is always just around the corner. And even though it's known for its intense moments, there's a kind of thoughtful pacing to how it unfolds. You're not just running and shooting, you're constantly watching, listening, managing your space. It makes every choice feel personal. And I think that's why it sticks with so many people. It's not just a scary game, it's a carefully built world that invites you to slow down and notice the small details. Whether it's the eerie sound of a distant bell or the creak of an empty hallway, everything adds to this quiet, haunting mood that lingers long after you stop playing. If you've never sat with it fully, or it's been a while, it's one of those rare games that's still worth exploring slowly, even now. Here's something I've been revisiting that honestly took me by surprise. Burnout 3 isn't just about speed or smashing into things, even though that's what it looks like at first. It's actually one of the few racing games that feels more like a pure rush of instinct than anything else. You're not just driving, you're reacting, weaving through traffic, finding these tiny windows of space, and then launching yourself into corners with this wild kind of freedom. What's really cool is how the game encourages you to take risks, not just to win, but to make every moment feel a little more intense, a little more alive. There's a rhythm to it that starts to sink in after a while, where you're not even thinking about the finish line, you're just in it, second by second, fully focused. The crashes, the slow motion impacts, the way the camera tilts just a bit when you graze past another car, it's all tuned to make you feel like you're right there in the middle of the chaos, and yet somehow in control. And maybe that's what I love most. It finds this balance between reckless and beautiful, fast and strangely peaceful. If you're ever in the mood for something that feels raw, honest, and surprisingly satisfying to play without overcomplicating anything, this one still holds up in a really special way. There's this other one I've been thinking about lately. It's quiet in a way that stays with you long after the screen fades to black. Silent Hill 2 isn't just eerie because of what's in it. It's how it makes you feel as you move through it. The fog, the stillness, the way the world seems to hold its breath. It's less about fear and more about the feeling of being alone with something you can't quite name. And that's what makes it special, really. It's slow, deliberate, and strangely personal. The town itself feels like it's alive. But not in the usual sense, more like it's watching you, shaping itself around your thoughts. Even the quietest hallway or empty street carries weight, like it means something. And the more you explore, the more you start noticing little things. The way the sound drifts in and out, the spaces that feel too quiet, or the moments when nothing happens, but everything still feels heavy. What I find powerful is how it never tells you what to feel, it just gives you space to feel it. If you ever want to experience a world that speaks softly but leaves a lasting mark, this one is definitely worth sitting with in the dark when everything's still. You might not have heard about this one in a while, but Shadow of the Colossus has a way of feeling profoundly quiet, even when it's at its most intense. There's a gentle sort of wonder the moment you ride out across that empty, sunlit landscape, like you've entered a world where every step means something, even before you face anything. The real magic lies in how every encounter turns into something deeply personal. Climbing up these impossibly huge creatures, feeling your heart race as you find safe paths along their bodies, and listening to the soft creaks and distant winds that fill the silence between actions. It's not about flashy effects or non-stop action, it's about those moments when you pause, look around, and sense the stillness before everything shifts again. And when you do reach the top and strike, it's not triumphant in a typical way. It's thoughtful, almost bittersweet, as if you're part of something much bigger than yourself. I really want to show you this one because it reminds me that games can be as much about atmosphere as about what you do, and this one quietly does both in a way that stays with you long after. There's this other gem I've been playing that really sticks with you, not just because of the story, but because of how deeply it pulls you into its world. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater isn't just about stealth or survival, it's about slowing down and actually paying attention to everything around you. You're dropped into this dense jungle, where the sounds of nature are just as important as the mission you're on. Crawling through grass, patching up wounds, even stopping to eat just enough to keep going, it all feels grounded in a strange, quiet way. And it's not just the setting, it's the mood. There's a kind of solitude in it, like you're constantly surrounded, but still alone, figuring things out one step at a time. The pacing isn't rushed, the action isn't constant, it gives you time to breathe and think. And the way it blends quiet tension with really personal moments makes it feel more like a journey than a mission. I think what makes this one special is how much care went into the little things, the way camouflage works, how the weather shifts, how characters speak in quiet tones that linger in your mind. It's a slower, deeper kind of experience, and if you're in the right mood, it's honestly one of the most quietly powerful games you can spend time with. Here's something different I've been spending time with lately. Devil May Cry 3, Dante's Awakening. And it's one of those rare action games that somehow feels both chaotic and completely under control. What caught me off guard wasn't just how sharp and fast everything moves, but how much rhythm there is hiding under all that energy. Once you start getting the feel for it, learning the timing, switching styles mid-fight, chaining moves together, it becomes almost like a dance. There's a deep satisfaction in mastering those little moments where everything just clicks. But even beyond the combat, what really makes it interesting is the atmosphere. The world feels dramatic and dark, but it's never overwhelming. It's just stylized in this cool, exaggerated way that lets you lean into it. And while the story has its wild moments, there's also a surprising bit of emotion in the quiet pauses, tucked between the intensity. You might not expect a game like this to have that kind of balance, but somehow it works. It's stylish without feeling hollow, fast without losing its clarity. If you're ever in the mood for something that rewards patience, timing, and a little flair, this one's honestly a great one to sink into, especially when you let it unfold at your own pace. There's this other gem I've been playing that really took me back in the best way, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. And what stood out most wasn't the action or the puzzles, but how graceful it all felt. It's got this quiet elegance to it, where the movement becomes almost meditative after a while. Running along walls, leaping between columns, swinging from poles, it's like you're flowing through the world instead of just moving through it. And the setting, with its warm glow and softly crumbling architecture, has this dreamlike atmosphere that gently pulls you in. What's really clever though is how the game plays with time itself. Being able to rewind just a few seconds not to win, but to try again, adds this really thoughtful, forgiving layer to everything. It never feels punishing, just encouraging, like it wants you to experiment and enjoy the process. And the story, though like a memory being retold, gives the whole journey a kind of softness, like you're not just playing through events, but remembering them. If you ever feel like slowing down with something that's still adventurous but also calm and surprisingly poetic, this one's a really special experience to revisit.
Say to them, as Khosrow said to Rustam, "You are the noblest of my warriors." From the moment my sword tasted blood, I knew this would not be my way. I would win my father's praise, not by killing, but by being the first to find the Maharaja's treasure vault and the wonders.
Alright, I think that's where we'll leave it for now. Just felt nice to look back at some of those PS2 games that aged in their own quiet way, somehow holding up better than a lot of what we see today. It's always interesting to revisit stuff like that, not just for the nostalgia, but for the way those games still feel when you sit with them again. If any of these brought back a memory, or if there's one you've been thinking about lately, you're more than welcome to drop a thought in the comments. No pressure, of course, just if you feel like sharing. And if you're into slower videos like this, where it's more about the vibe than the hype, you're always welcome to stick around. But either way, thanks for being here, and thanks for just spending a bit of quiet time with me. Hope the rest of your day's peaceful. I'll catch you again soon.